everyone, welcome back to the Florida Fishing Academy's virtual classroom. My name's Shannon. Today we are going to be learning about making boats. We are going to call this the Float the Boat Challenge. If you tuned in prior weeks, you maybe watched our lesson called Sink or Float, all about density. We know that some objects sink while others float. This is based on their density. Today, we are going to learn about buoyancy and how buoyancy affects our boats and how much they may be able to carry. Why do some objects sink while others float? We may think that heavier objects will sink and lighter objects will float, but that's not the case. Think about it this way. If you had a coin and you were out near the ocean and you threw that coin into the ocean, that coin would sink. But a big cruise ship would float. This shows us that weight does not determine whether an object will sink or float. We know that gravity keeps us on the ground. But how does gravity play an effect on if things sink or float? Let's take this object here. I'm going to put it in the water here and in this water tank here. Do you think it will sink or do you think it will float? Will it do the same thing in both containers? Let's test it. Do you think this object will sink or float? It sinks. Now, if we put it in this container, do you think it will still sink or do you think it will float? Let's test it. It floats in here, but it sinks in here. Why do you think this happens? The reason this might happen is because of the volume or amount of water in these containers. There's also a difference in what we call the surface area, or the surface of the water. When an object is in water, it will pull down with gravity. But as it pulls down, it will push that water aside. So as we put this into our container here, we will see the water rise. That is what we call displacement. Gravity pulls the displaced water down and causes this object to rise. This is showing buoyancy. Boat designers and engineers need to take buoyancy in account when building their boats. We are going to be testing our boats in this big water tub. You can build your boat out of aluminum foil, and you can use things like corks, markers, pencils, or whatever else you find around to build your boat. Let's see how you do it. My boat. Let's see if it will sink or float. It floats! Now that your boat will float, we're going to test how much weight your boat can carry. We are going to be using pennies to see how many pennies your boat can hold. Only use pennies. Don't switch them out for quarters, dimes, or nickels. Let's see. My boat finally sank. Let's see how many pennies it took. So, I've counted up my coins and I have $1.50, 150 coins. How many coins did your boat hold? Do you think you could change your design or the materials you use to have your boat hold more coins? Share with us your results. We'd love to see what you come up with.